Hey, 3G Cards and Collectibles here, and today I'll be opening these Tag Team GX All-Stars boxes, but also had a topic that I also wanted to talk about. Are local game stores scalping? I've seen a lot of people that are really upset right now at local game stores with Shining Fates just coming out, and they're selling, Elite Trainer boxes, which have an MSRP of $50, and they're selling them at, $100, $120, $150, $200, which, for a normal collector, that's a lot of money to spend for an Elite Trainer box. And, in their mindset, $50 is what they should be paying on that. And I don't disagree with that. But with how things are, there's also something else to keep in mind. Now, I would never personally sell those when they just came out at $150 and $200. That's more like reseller territory, like someone going in and pulling everything off the shelves in a Target and Walmart and then marking it up from their $53 cost with taxes and everything like that. Would make more sense. But typically your local game stores that they have a registered business license and resale license, and they're getting their products through from a distributor. They're probably around $35, $36, cost on one of these. Well, I'm really struggling with that. I'm gonna get less packs. On the cost on that. But there's some other things to consider, and probably from what you've heard on other people that may have seen any kind of reasoning on why they would do so, those higher prices. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit more from, I think my scissors are just in really bad shape. But talk about it in a little bit more of a financial standpoint from cost perspective on a local game store. So some things to consider, if you look back at previous sets, like before the whole pandemic and the shutdown and everything, if they wanted to get, say, 100 booster boxes of the new set to come out, they could get 100 booster boxes, So, they had a certain amount that they were working with, so if they sold them at $100 a booster box, then, there was a certain amount of profit dollars that's there based off the cost. And, you multiply that out by the 100 boxes, right? But now they aren't getting everything that they own, that they want as far as quantities. So instead of that 100, they may only get 30. So there's one problem with that, is their costs don't change from an overhead perspective, So it may not be as simple as, hey, these, my local game store is really being greedy, Why are they being so greedy? Why are they trying to get all this extra money? But, something to consider, Do I think they should be pricing them at $200? No. Do they, really need to be pricing them at $50? I mean, that's their choice. Yeah, they can do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. That I'm sure the community around them would appreciate that. But there's things to consider with their overhead costs, They're still paying salaries. They're still paying their rent. That hasn't changed. They're still paying the utilities, keeping the lights on. They're, paying for their computers, their internet, POS subscriptions to do their point of sale system. They've got all of these costs. They've got to factor in for you know, depreciation on their computers. What happens when their computers go down? They got to buy new computers. You know, they have to factor those costs in, you know, monthly, yearly, and those costs aren't changed. They're fixed. So what happens when they've been covering their overhead from selling 100 booster boxes, and you know, obviously they sell other things. I'm just using general numbers to go along with it, but and now they can only get 30. Okay, they're going to have a shortfall, and this shortfall, they can't stop paying their workers. You know, they can't stop paying their rent. You know, and it's not their fault that they're not able to get the 100 that they normally base it off of. So it's not just that the demand is high and the supply is low. There's other cost factors that are involved. Ooh, that's a nice one. I love that Blastoise. And we got Trio. So, you know, those are things that you have to take into consideration. So they have to make up the same amount of gross profit dollars to pay the bills, pay their workers, with less product to do it with. So that's going to cause prices to rise also. So it's a little more complicated than just, hey, they're just trying to price gouge here. They're trying to scalp me, trying to keep me from getting these things. And then the other point about it is, you know, from my point of view, for my business, I would, you know, try to find that middle ground to dissuade and discourage those scalpers from buying from me to then mark up the price. You know, so where's that middle ground at? What's the acceptable middle ground where, you know, they don't have to stop taking care of their overhead and finances? They're not too high for you know, the community to not purchase and want to, you know, take their business elsewhere. I mean, they've got things to consider. So is it 70? Is it 80? You know, I think it's probably feasible to be somewhere in that range. You know, and not, you know, it's not unrealistic. So, you know, there's just things to consider. And, you know, it might even be worth a conversation with your local game store, you know, talking with the owner, you know, and if part of their reasoning is for, you know, discouraging a scalper to come buy it from there and then turn around and make more money flipping it than they made selling it to them. You know, if that's the case, you know, maybe talk to them and see if, you know, hey, if I buy this and I open it right here in your store, you know, and you know I'm not going out there to resell it. I just want to open some packs. I want to, you know, I want to open these. I want to collect. You know, maybe they would give a discount. You know, maybe they would take that into consideration. You know, nice. That's a nice Mew there. So, you know, all right. Nice pack there. So I think that's something that you maybe should bring up if it's something that you're upset and you don't agree with. There's nothing wrong with talking about it to them directly. You know, blasting them on the internet and you know, some people have been like getting these like review bombs and stuff like that. You know, did you talk to them before you did that? You know, have a conversation with them. So it's just, there's more things to consider there. And, you know, at some point I'll probably try to do a video where, you know, we might go through like an example, a mock profit and loss statement, and kind of visualize it, show it with a picture of, you know, what you know, what it actually looks like with the numbers, with an example. You know, revenue and sales, that's not what, pays your bills. It's the margins, the gross profit dollars. That's what pays the bills. That's what keeps the lights on. So, if you're selling things on slimmer margins and you have less product to sell, I mean, you're not going to make it. There's got to be other ways around it, and it's a tough spot that game stores are in right now, with not being able to get enough product to do that with, and keep everyone happy. And Shining Fates was pretty bad on allocation. People got 20%, 30% of what they asked for, and then the 20% gets cut over 4 waves. That's just insane. It's really bad spot for these stores to be in, and they're just trying to stay in business. They're just trying to support their family. They're trying to keep their workers paid, so they don't have to lay anybody off. I mean, they're doing their best, and and like I said, I'm the ones that are doing $200 for an Elite Trainer box. I mean, that, in my opinion, I think I got that a little bit with the scissors. They're that last pack. They really try to hide these in here. These little secret rare energies. They try to hide those in there. You can't really notice that those are the different ones when you're looking at them. I think I missed one the last time I opened one of these things, but what was I saying? Anyways, but they're just they're trying to do the best they can. Is that another one? And I don't fault anybody for that. If they're selling them at a reasonable amount, even up to 100, I know it's tough, and maybe you can try your luck at finding one at a Target or Walmart for $50, but man, when you only got 20%, and then the 20% gets split into getting 10%, 3%, 5%, 2% over 2 months shipping, I mean, man, how are you supposed to continue selling and making enough revenue, generating enough profit to keep the lights on, keep your employees there? So, there's 2 ways to get to that number that you need to pay all the bills, to cover your overhead and be in the black. There's 2 ways to get there. By selling a lot of volume at lower margins, a lot of volume, or less volume with higher margins. And you have to be able to adapt based on the market situation. And a lot of the these LGSs, they didn't start nice. They didn't start, before the supply was so strained. They didn't start buying 500, 600, 1,000 booster boxes like some of the real big stores. I mean, they probably were already only getting 100 to 200 booster boxes, maybe even less than that. I don't know. And then when the supply gets strained, they're even cut even harder than that. And you have to be able to adapt so that you can still keep your business running. And when you have less stuff to sell, you have to make it a little more profitable so you still make the nugget at the end. You have to be able to do that. And you have to have, if you're just doing enough just to cover your overhead every month, you're not having any additional in the black to put back. What happens when you have the next month or the next 2 months where you don't cover the overhead and you're in the red. You got nothing to pull from. You got nothing to pull from. And then that's when you still got to pay your workers, right? You still got to pay your rent, but you were in the red. How do you do that? And then they get in a tough spot where they've got to work with a bank, get a loan so that they can get that money fronted until they have a good month so that they can pay it back, you know? So it's really a bad situation all around. And, you know, the actual scalpers out there are not doing the whole situation any favors at all. You know, they're probably the reason why the market price, oh man, nice. They're probably the reason why the market price is shot up so high. It's not just the strain on supply and the increased demand. You know, they figure they can put it at 200. If someone buys it, why wouldn't they keep it at 200? So, you know, some of the local game stores may say, hey, you know, the scalpers can get 200. I deserve to get 200 for it. Oh, my comment pile here is kind of falling. You know, and it could get into a situation where you could consider that a little bit of greed. But, you know, to each their own. You know, everybody's going to do it different. Everybody has their own set of circumstances. And then on top of that, everybody has their own overhead costs. Not one store has the same overhead costs. You know, there might be one guy that's only got an 800 square foot space for rent, and he's only paying $6 a square foot per year for his rent. But then you might have someone who's in 2,000 square foot space that's paying $20. You know, it's huge. It's a huge difference, and that completely changes the numbers that they got to hit to cover their overhead too. Because, you know, also with a larger space, you're paying more on electric. You're, depending on your area, you're probably paying more for internet too. So lots of costs involved, and depending on where they are in the country, those costs could be way higher, and this strain could be affecting them even more than other people. So lots of things to just consider, and just have a conversation with them. Find out from them without making any assumptions, without saying, just going on and blasting them on the internet and Facebook, and just get it from the horse's mouth. And they're not obligated to tell you what's going on with their costs and why they have to do what they do, but they might. Most local game store owners are they're very understanding and happy to talk with their customers. So a little bit different perspective there, but just just seeing a lot of stuff on Facebook and people getting blasted and different Facebook groups and things like that, and it's become a very hot topic, and just wanted to put my point of view and from a little different angle, looking at the financial piece a little bit more, and appreciate you listening, and this is a little different than I've done so far as my videos, and I hope you found it interesting. And if you could like the video, leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you liked this little different topic idea that I did here, and what I can do better. And appreciate you watching. Thank you.